Welcome to Ford High School Weekly. I'm your host, Deon Amade. On this week's show, we got another special guest, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. My man, Michael Knight, is here from Prep Red Zone, here to talk to us about high school recruiting in the state of Oklahoma. Michael, how's it going, my man?
It's good, man. I'm glad that we're in the month of June and July, and the summer months are a lot different than what we saw last year. Kids are going all over the country with recruiting, so it's been a wild start. I'm happy to be talking to you about it.
Well, let's go ahead and get started at that point right there. Last year, pandemic, me and you sitting at the house, and a lot of these kids, twiddling their thumbs, kind of disappointed about all the opportunities they were missing out on because of the pandemic and not being able to go to these camps and put their names out there to kind of get these coaches talking about them a little bit more. What's the difference, and what did from all the players and coaches that you've talked to, what was the feeling last year and how is it different this year?
I mean, with everything starting to open up now again, and things are starting to get back to normal, whatever normal is in 2021 post-pandemic, with things opening up on June 1st and the NCAA finally releasing the dead PR, ending the dead period, and kids can now go on visits. I look back at what the 2021 class, the seniors that just graduated in May, what they had to go through in terms of recruiting. You had kids that signed with schools that never even visited those colleges. And, I mean, we hear about the transfer portal all the time, but it's going to be insane over the next couple of years because you're going to have kids who go to these campuses for the first time in August and sign in and realize, hey, this isn't actually where I want to be for the next 4 or 5 years. So it's insane what the last class had to deal with. But at the same time, finally, we're back to normal. Finally, these kids can go on visits. They can go to camps. They can take officials. They can go across the country and see what, their future may hold, because I couldn't imagine as a 17, 18-year-old kid having to make a decision on where to spend the next 4 to 5 years. I mean, you played at OSU. Could you imagine committing and signing with the Cowboys without ever going to Stillwater? I couldn't. I mean, I don't know how those kids handled that. I'm glad that the 2022 class, the next group of seniors, they don't have to deal with it. I think it took the NCAA a little bit longer than it should. If you were allowing fans in the stands last fall, you should have let recruits go as well on official visits, but that didn't happen. But that's in the past. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Things are back on track, and I can't wait to see what the next couple of months holds for the state of Oklahoma and some of our best players.
Hey, man, you know the name of the game. Money talks.
Yeah.
But with that being said, what do you think were some of the biggest disadvantages of those kids? And you mentioned already that a lot of these kids go into the campus for the first time. There's also scenarios where a lot of kids didn't get an opportunity to get looked at and they're going to different situations. There's also circumstances where kids are staying closer to home because they didn't have an opportunity to go and venture out and see different campuses and different universities. So what do you think was the biggest disadvantage that some of these hurdles that these kids had to overcome last year?
I think the biggest one was the dead period itself. And the kids, they could take unofficial visits, but I mean, you know how it goes. Not every family has the ability to travel all over the country and visit all the schools that a kid wants to go to. The NCAA allows student athletes or prospective student athletes to go on 5 official visits. And for kids that weren't able to do that, that really limited them. And it's a good point that you brought up. Because of that, kids stayed closer to home than ever before. And I'm so thankful that Oklahoma even had a high school season last fall. You think about all the other states across the country that didn't have high school football last fall. Those kids were trying to get recruited based off of, 2-year-old film. I mean, the whole thing has been incredibly difficult for the kids that were involved, the coaches involved. And like I said, man, I can't stress enough how happy I am that it's all in the past and we can kind of get back to normal. And the kids in the 22 class, the 23 class, and so on and so forth, hopefully everything will stay the way it is now and they won't have to worry about what the class of 21 had to worry about for the last 12 months because it was ridiculous without a doubt.
Yeah, you can definitely say that again. But I mean, turning on to the other side of things, one of the things my best friend Devin had always says, there's pros and there's cons to everything in life. We've heard a lot about the cons, about the situation that these kids have been through with the pandemic and recruiting and all that aspect. But what were some of the pros, you know, that the advantages of the situation, what some of the bright sides of things?
I think that you can't talk about the pros until after the fact. I don't think anybody wanted to talk about the positives of having a dead period during the dead period. But I mean, look, part of my job is being on social media as much as possible. And I've seen kid after kid after kid all over the state of Oklahoma. They're going all over the country, whether it's official visit, unofficial visit. These kids are taking advantage of every opportunity that's out there, from camps to visits to whatever it may be. So I think that as far as the positives that have came out of this, you start right there. The kids are not going to take advantage of this time, or excuse me, they're going to take advantage and not take it for granted anymore. This time to get recruited, to get evaluated, to go see what's out there for them, because they didn't have that opportunity last year. They probably saw what their upperclassmen, what the class of 21 had to deal with not going on visits, not being able to see these schools all over the country. These classes now, they're going to take full advantage of the opportunity and go all over, see what they want to see. I mean, there's kids on the East Coast, the West Coast, and they're all from right here in Oklahoma. They are going all over. And I think that's without a doubt the biggest positive that you can take away from last year is don't take this time for granted. Take advantage of it.
We enjoyed covering the Prep Red Zone Spring Showcase in Owasso. For Michael Knight, it came with a little bit of stress and worry. When Ford High School Weekly continues. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. We're talking with Michael Knight from Prep Red Zone. Michael, now you talked about some camps earlier and kids going all over the country to kind of participate in stuff, but we had a camp here recently in our own backyard over at Owasso. Prep Red Zone did host it. You did a phenomenal job of organizing everything and bringing the kids out, a lot of top-notch athletes. How did everything go? And talk about the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough of the players that came out, the coaches that we had to coach it, as well as the college coaches that were in attendance to evaluate some of the best talent in Oklahoma. You never know, when you're doing an event like that, that first one it always makes you nervous. I'll admit that, I was looking at the weather forecast about 14 days in advance, trying to get as much information as I can. I was stressing a little bit the day before. It looked like a little iffy as far as storms go, but Owasso was a fantastic host. Shout out to Bill Blankenship, who opened his doors and his gates to a wonderful facility there at Owasso. And even if we would have had bad weather, we would have been able to move into their nice indoor facility to run out the camp. So we were all set there. But I can't say enough about the players, the coaches, and then the college coaches that took time to come down and evaluate talent. And the biggest thing that I had told you about that day was, hopefully these kids get an opportunity to go to the next level. And that's what it's all about. It was to showcase their talent and get an opportunity to be evaluated by college coaches. And I'm very happy to say that at least one guy right after the camp, not even 3 hours after the camp concluded at Owasso, he went from 0 offers to a couple offers, one from Bethel up in Kansas, as well as NSU over in Tahlequah. That's Gabe Grazier, an offensive lineman from Oologah. Had no offers coming into the camp on Sunday. He performed incredibly well. And the 2 coaches that were there from those 2 schools, they immediately offered him after the camp. And then I'm also happy to say that several other prospects have been offered. UCO has offered several prospects, including one earlier today that they had seen in person, as well as NSU. They've offered a few prospects from that camp. So as I mentioned to you, that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest goal for these players, was to get evaluated by colleges and get an opportunity to play at the next level. I think that our national director of scouting, Jake Lemming, he mentioned it to some of the kids. We don't give offers. We don't get kids offers. Rivals doesn't get kids offers. 24/7 doesn't get kids offers. The players do. They earn it. Now, we did a great job with setting them up with a platform to compete, to do well, and to earn those offers, but they earn the offers. But I'm very happy that we were able to run a well-done camp, and the feedback has been great. I've already been asked by countless prospects, hey, when's the next one? Whether it was a kid who was there or someone who saw all the stuff on social media or all the video that you guys did as well, and say, when can I get to the next one? The feedback has been great. And like I mentioned, on that Sunday in June, man, it's only the beginning for us. This is just the start of something special when it comes to camps that are going to be run by Prep Red Zone.
Well, you guys did a phenomenal job, especially with me being out there. I saw some good things from players and coaching and everybody around. But the question I wanted to ask you, I mean, especially it being kind of your first one, what was the toughest part about organizing the whole thing? What are some things that the players and the parents don't know about putting something together like this that you kind of would like to share?
The hundreds and hundreds of DMs that I sent, like, hey, come out to Owasso. I mean, if you can see the DMs on our Twitter, I mean, it was just message after message after message, just trying to get the word out, not only to players, but to college coaches as well. Just trying to get as much information out there as possible. I'll admit that, I was wondering how this would go. This was the first time that I had ever been a part of something like this. It's always been a dream of mine to bring an event like this to Oklahoma. And I'll admit that I wasn't sure what to expect coming in, but our company, the Prep Network, which is over Prep Red Zone, they do such a phenomenal job when it comes to events. They got their start doing high school basketball with Prep Hoops and then Prep Girls Hoops. And we're bringing that same philosophy to football with Prep Red Zone. So they already had it in place to where there wasn't that much stress as far as, finding a location and dealing with some of the back end stuff that nobody, like you mentioned, parents, they don't think about that dynamic of how difficult it could be. I didn't have to worry about it because the higher ups in our company, they had it all taken care of. This isn't their first rodeo. They knew what they were doing. So I didn't have to stress about it. I just had to get guys there. I had to get players there. I had to get guys who would coach each position there, which was very important to me. I wanted guys who I could trust, guys who had the best intentions for these kids. And I think we were able to put together a really good staff when it came to that department. And then the final thing was to get the college coaches there. And there were a lot of DMs, a lot of messages to coaches, all over this part of the country. Like, we have a phenomenal group of kids that are going to be competing in Owasso. Come take time. It's only going to be a couple hours, a 3-hour event. Come take time and see some great kids. And for the coaches that were able to come and attend and evaluate that talent, they got the head start on recruiting some of these kids that they're going to be hopeful that sign with them, come February.
Michael says the Oklahoma high school football class of 22 is a deep one. He'll go over his top 5 next on Ford High School Week. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. We're talking with Prep Red Zone's own Michael Knight right now. Michael, you mentioned some of the players that have come out and how hard it has been to see them, battle through some adversity trying to get themselves out there after the pandemic and everything. But who are some of the players that you're excited to see, participate in camps this summer and raise his status and then, perform on the field in the fall?
Yeah, I think that when you look at this 2022 class, it's always been pretty special and it's always been fairly deep. And it just continues to get deeper and deeper the more prospects that continue to, impress during camps and during visits and spring practice and 7-on-7s and things like that. And so when I look at this 2022 class, for a long time, there's been 3 guys in this group Talon Shetron, a wide receiver from Santa Fe, Jacob Sexton, an offensive lineman from Deer Creek, and then Gentry Williams, a phenomenal athlete from Booker T. Washington. Those three guys have had just a death grip on the top of our 2022 rankings. But when I looked at the class again, it's really a big five. It's no longer a big three. It's a big five. You have to include Chris McClellan, a big defensive lineman from Owasso, formerly out of Edison. Now he's out of Owasso, and that front seven that they're going to have at Owasso is going to be absolutely terrifying.
Nasty, man.
Yeah,
Nasty.
they won. They got some dudes on that front seven. It's going to be hard to run the ball or, just do anything offensively against them. But then you also have to include Union defensive back Jaden Rowe, who's committed to OU. McClellan, Gentry Williams are still uncommitted. They're traveling all over the country, official visits, unofficial visits, looking at all the different options that they have. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to see what they narrow down their options and ultimately where they end up. But those five guys are five of the best prospects that I've seen here recently. And, for fans in the Tulsa area, they're going to have a lot of talent on display in this part of the state, just in the Tulsa area alone. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what those guys decide as far as their future. And, it's going to be interesting to see how many more prospects kind of add their name to the list, because it's those five guys at the top, but there are so many good players in this 2022 class. Braylon Presley, the dynamic running back from Bixby, committed to Oklahoma State. Deshaun Brown, a big defensive lineman from Choctaw. He's an outstanding prospect as well. Staying at Choctaw, Cade McConnell on the offensive line, he's committed to TCU. There's some really good players and really good prospects in this 2022 class. It's incredibly deep. And at the top, there's some of the best players in the state and in the country. I mean, Shetron, I mentioned him, Sexton, Gentry Williams, Chris McClellan. All of those guys have been selected to All-American games. So that tells you not only is their standing in Oklahoma incredibly high, but their standing in the country is incredibly high. They're recruited by schools all over the country. They're going to be playing in All-American games in January. They're some of the best football players, and they're right here in Oklahoma. So when it comes to a Friday night in the fall, man, there's going to be talent everywhere. Get out and pay that the price of admission. It's going to be what, $10 maybe at tops at most high schools. That's a lot cheaper than some of these places that they're going to be playing at in the future. I guarantee that.
Well, we're going to go ahead and put your Twitter down low right there, because I think there's going to be a couple of people that got a little problem with your top five list, and I want them to come after you, not me. Okay, so make sure you know he said that. My man Michael Knight said that was his top five, not mine. I got a little different of opinion.
Hey, that's fine by me. Look, hey, I'm no stranger to it. I've been doing this for 10 years. And so, talking about the camp earlier, that was the one thing that surprised me the most, is because you've been in this game for a while now as well. Whenever it comes to feedback in sports media, it's always negative. People will go out of their way to say something negative about you or say something negative about what you said. They're not going to go out of their way to say something positive. But when it came to our camp back on June 6th, people were incredibly positive about it. Now, we also updated our rankings on the website, so that positivity can quickly turn into negativity. Those same people that were impressed with what we were able to do up in Owasso, they also are probably the same people that called me an idiot for saying this guy was better than this guy. But hey, it's part of the game. I understand it. I'm never gonna hate on anybody who has an opinion. That's what this is all about, man. So I'm excited to have the conversation with anybody who wants to have it.
Find out all about Prep Red Zone with Michael Knight when Ford High School Weekly returns. Welcome back to Ford High School Weekly. We're talking with Prep Red Zone's own Michael Knight right now. So now that everything is wrapped up from y'all's camp in your spring showcase, that did happen. It's kind of in the summer. Yeah. What's up next for you guys over there at Prep Red Zone? What's next on the agenda coming into football season?
So the month of July is going to be huge for us. Starting on July 1st, we have our preseason rankings for the 2021 season, and then we'll dive into individual team previews where the goal is to have 100 team previews, very in-depth, very player-oriented. taking a look at some of the best teams in Oklahoma. And then once August rolls around, we'll continue the preview content, taking a look at class by class. We'll have podcast content with interviews with coaches all over the state. So a lot of great things leading up to the beginning of football in August towards the end of the month. So now's a great time to subscribe if you haven't done so already to prepredzone.com. And I can save you a little money as well. We got a coupon code for you can use to save 25%. That's NIGHT25 if you go ahead and subscribe. Night, KNIGHT 25 will save you 25% off. And like I said, man, this is a great time to subscribe. We're going to have preview content from July to August, and then we're going to have daily content throughout the season leading all the way up to December when state champions are crowned. And then, of course, we dive right back into recruiting after that. So you know how it goes if you're watching this, man. It's high school football in Oklahoma. It does not stop. We're 24/7, 365. We have something for you every single month. But now it's starting to get good with team previews, class previews, and we're going to get you set for the 2021 football season here in Oklahoma.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. My man Michael Knight will get you right if you want to focus on Oklahoma high school football. Stay tuned with them and subscribe. He even left you a little coupon, a little gift right there. Come on now, guys, stay with it. But Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an honor talking to you, man, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more, especially when those rankings come out and you drop some more knowledge on us and when the football season is right around the corner.
Yeah, whether it's knowledge or you want to debate, whatever you want to do when it comes to those rankings, team previews, I'm good for whatever. Whenever it comes to high school football in Oklahoma, I love talking about these kids, these programs, these coaches. It's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, and I'm lucky to say that I haven't worked a day in the last decade because I'm covering high school football, which I grew up in this state. I love Oklahoma high school football. I'm incredibly biased, and I'll admit it. I don't care about any other state when it comes to their football. I care about Oklahoma. So very happy to talk some high school ball with you, and anytime you want to do it, let's do it.
Rightfully so. Thanks, my man.
See you.
3 seconds. 2 seconds at the buzzer on the way. That's good.
Be sure to go to YurView.com/OK for highlights and replays of the Ford Game of the Week. And check out our podcast and past episodes at YurView.com/OK. Only the best in Oklahoma make the Ford High School Weekly. So until next time, I'm Deanna Mata, and thank you for watching.